Man, we're back at it, Chinch.
Yes.
We're back at it.
Funbag Friday.
Funbag Friday. You gotta love the Funbag Fridays, man. How you doing, brother? What's going on?
Not much, man. I'm feeling better after the last couple weeks. You're feeling better? Are you feeling better?
I'm feeling great, dude. I'm feeling 100%. Yeah.
All right, good. And hey, just everybody, we're just gonna get right into this today because we're doing something a little different. We got a special guest today with an really amazing thing he's got going on. What's happening here?
Yeah, we do, Chinch. We got a great guest on today. A buddy of mine, Jeff Siegel. He's a filmmaker. He's done a lot of unbelievable stuff with MLB, with Netflix, ESPN, all this stuff with the Barnacle brothers, who are absolute maniacs. They're great dudes. They're doing their thing. But I tell you what, he has this new project, and I don't know if you've ever seen this kid, but his kid's name's Zack Hample. He has like everything. 10,000 balls, like foul balls, home runs, whatever. He catches all these balls, and it's an unbelievable story. And Jeff's been working on this project for a long time, and finally he's just released a documentary. So let's bring Jeff in so we can hear everything that went on, man. So how's it going, Jeff?
Hey, great to see you, Sean. All's well.
Yeah, man. Dude, tell us about this project, bro. This Zack Hample kid seems like a polarizing figure and just a genius, maybe.
Yeah, well, definitely. I mean, there's so much hate for him, which is baffling to some people because he's just a guy who loves baseball and kind of never gave up on his dream of having a career in baseball, but sort of figured out a new way to do that and has now become famous and is, huge on YouTube and has written books and is so well known. You go to a game, hundreds of kids go up to him. I mean, it's crazy. It's like he's more famous than some of the players on the field, and honestly. But the film, I met him in 2008 at a Phillies game. I actually had discovered him before he was super famous. I read his blog all about how he was getting all these baseballs at games. And look, who doesn't want to get a baseball when you go to a game? I feel like it's such a cool, classic American.
Bro, I remember the first foul ball I caught. I waited 18 innings in Pittsburgh. I was like 14 years old. Barry Bonds hit a foul ball, and that's the only reason I caught it because no one was left at the game. It was raining, so that's why when I see Zach get all these balls, I'm like, that's unbelievable.
I've never caught one. I've never come close. I've never been within like 6 rows. That's what makes this such an insane story.
Well, that goes into part of what his sort of methodology is, which is, his favorite quote, and he says this in the movie, is a Branch Rickey quote, which is "luck is the residue of design." So he definitely plans a lot. Like he knows where to be, and he's gotten so good at this. But, obviously there is that kind of just luck of the draw, and you go to a ball game, you never know. Is one going to come? If you're in certain parts of the ballpark, it's, extremely minimal. But if you're in foul territory, now I know now they have nets and stuff, but if you're in the right areas that are home run hotspots, maybe you'll get one. But he really has kind of found a way, as that sports psychologist says in the film, to sort of operationalize his luck and put himself have the best chances of getting balls. And he knows, who's good at throwing third out balls and where to be. And it's just crazy, but he's definitely not relying too much on chance at this point. I think it's kind of like,
How did it all start?
Like for him?
Yeah.
So we go into all this in the film. So this is a 95-minute feature-length doc. Zach's been in the media, quite a bit over the years. He's been guest on a lot of shows, and there's been a million reports. It's a very down-the-middle subject. The guy who's caught more balls than anyone. How do you do it? What are your favorites? What are your tips? But this film goes a lot deeper. And so he started the first one ever. I mean, he became obsessed with baseball as a kid, like a lot of people. And he's from New York natively. And like the Mets, used to go to a lot of games at Shea and always wanted to catch one. Didn't catch one for the first few years. And then he finally just read Beckett Baseball magazine, with a card guide, they also have articles. Right. And there was an article about how to get baseballs. And this was in, the early 90s. And one said, show up for batting practice. And he said, I didn't even know what batting practice was. And he tried it out. And that's definitely a tip for this whole kind of subculture of ball hawking, which has now become a huge thing. All these people wait outside and they're the first people to go in while BP is still going on because balls are flying out left and right. And it's the kind of this, and there's not many people in the stadium and you can kind of connect with it on a different level where there's a lot of people swinging for the fences, and what a cool feeling. It's one thing just to end up with a ball too that bounces around or ricochets off something or you pick it up, but another feeling to catch it directly in your glove in the seats, like you're the 10th fielder, as Zach puts it in the documentary. Like, it's this incredible connection when it goes from the pitcher's hand to the batter's bat to your glove, just seamlessly, and it's like you're a participant in the game.
That is so cool. Has he said, I mean, obviously we're going to check out the documentary too. Where can we find that documentary?
Right now it's on it's available for rental and purchase on all the big platforms where people go now, like Apple, iTunes, Amazon, Vimeo has a thing, Google Play, all those places. And hopefully within a few months, it'll end up on a subscription platform where, people already subscribe and they can just hit play. But for right now, you have to rent or buy it. But people have been coming out. It's the number 1 sports doc on iTunes at the moment.
Awesome.
So,
well, yeah, that's awesome. Dude, how long, you said you took a long time to do it. Like, how long, why did it take you so long? And were you doing this all by yourself?
Yeah. So I was telling you, I met him, 14 years ago at a Phillies game, and it was a great season as a Phillies fan. I grew up there, and they went on to win that World Series in 2008. But I knew that there was something there to him. And, I got into the documentary world, and I always was in the back of my mind doing something about him. And we were working on this other project about sports memorabilia collectors. And he was part of that. And then that project ended up kind of falling away. And I said, you know what? I think there's a thing just about Zack to be done. So I've always had a lot of other projects going on. This has been like a total side project, passion project that I did for next to no money, just because I wanted to get this story out there. And because I think people, especially if you've never heard of him, if you watch it, you'll be so blown away. Like, are you kidding me? He's there and he's there and he's there. And how did he end up? He caught that one too. Right. It's like, where's Waldo? So I spent the better part of the last 8 years just on my free time getting this film finished, basically all by myself. And, I basically did everything on it, very DIY. So I'm thrilled it's finally done and out there, and I can move on to something else.
It's DIY, like the mayor's office. We're DIY too. Hey, Case, listen to this. So on his Wikipedia page for Zack, here's this is the greatest line. Under criticism, there's a whole paragraph on criticism, and it says his aggressive tactics have resulted in sports writers describing him as, quote, baseball's most hated fan, an egomaniacal weasel, and a baby punching souvenir monger. So how hated is this guy
Well, I mean, look, there's a reason it's called Zack Hample versus the world. And I mean, I'm telling you, even just promoting the movie, which just came out a little over a week ago, and posting on Twitter and stuff, some of the comment, I mean, you know how ugly it is on internet comments, and it's like the darkest place in the world on YouTube and Twitter. But people, I don't think they really get his full story, or maybe they just see a grown man. By the way, he's in his mid 40s now. He's been doing this for a long time. When they see someone who is so devoted to something that seems like it's really something that just kids should be doing, maybe to a lot of people, I don't know. They just have this visceral reaction where they go like, screw you. And everybody says the haters all pin and say, you must knock down children and you're stealing balls from kids. And there's this kind of negative sort of cliche about him. But I'm telling you, I've been to many games with him, and I know he's very cognizant of this, and I've never seen anything bad. And he, at the same time, has so many supporters who absolutely will defend him against the people trolling him about the negativity. So it's so weird. He is this kind of central figure. And I mean, again, at the end of the day, he's just a fan. He's not a player, but he does find himself at the center of controversy so much. And when he held onto that A-Rod ball, he ended up with that A-Rod 3000 hit, and that ball would be worth a ton of money if you sold it on the open market. I mean, the Yankees must have just been, their heads must have been exploding when they saw he ended up with it, because he literally had written a book a few years before that, where he has a section about what to do if you end up with a milestone home run ball and the team wants it back, about how to negotiate to get, don't just give it back and, for a jersey or a handshake, like let it, get something good for it. And I will say, to his credit, he ultimately did return that ball and received a $150,000 donation for the Pitch In for Baseball and Softball charity as part of what he got for handing that ball back to A-Rod. And if I can just say, the film, because Zack has a longstanding relationship with that charity, we decided to donate a portion of everything that we bring in to that Pitch In for Baseball and Softball charity as well, for anything that comes in from this film.
That's awesome. That's awesome. What other ball? Are there any other balls besides the A-Rod one that are milestone balls?
Yeah. Well, the second biggest one is it might actually be the biggest. He caught Mike Trout's first home run ever, which was hit in Baltimore, and Trout's family was there. And it wasn't a sold out game. It was pretty empty. It was in that left field porch that they just moved back in Baltimore now. But Zack gave that ball back to Mike Trout. He said his only stipulation was he just wanted to hand it to him himself. And he did that day after the game. He went down and handed the ball right back to Mike. And Trout still remembers him. And if he's at games, Zack goes to 100 games a year, all different ballparks all over the place. I think he still kind of has a soft spot because he gave that ball back. And that ball on the open market could have gone. Today would go for a fortune. So he caught that one. He also caught the last home run that the Mets ever hit at Chase Stadium. And that one's wild because when you see the footage, they played it. I was just on Hot Stove the other day, and they kept showing the clips of that. And it's so packed in Chase Stadium. The fact that he ended up with it is baffling. It just basically this ball disappears into a sea of people, and then you just see this guy like he looks like he's being baptized with the ball. He pops up, and it's Zack, and you're like, again, how did he do this? I mean, it's nuts. But he's caught, earlier when he started doing this, it used to be about quantity, and he just wanted all the balls he could get. Now he's kind of shifted his focus to being really focusing on in-game home runs. And his new goal is he's working towards 100 in-game home runs. He currently has 80 in-game home runs that he has caught, which is crazy. And what's crazy is I was filming in a few games with him a couple years ago at Citi Field, and he caught 2 in one game. That's happened a few times. He did it again this year at Fenway last season during the playoffs at Fenway. 2 in one game, and you're like, at a certain point, it almost becomes like he's a player when you're talking about these stats, right?
Yeah, especially when you talk about like being at a playoff game, like to catch 2 balls, that place is packed. How does that? It's just it's a phenomenal. I can't wait to really dive into this documentary because this is it's a phenomenal stuff.
Yeah, it's wild. I hope you guys check it out. And I just want to spread the word because, like I said, it's kind of, there wasn't really a big budget behind this at all. This is just sort of a story that I really wanted to tell because I was so blown away when I first discovered this guy. And I knew that, if kind of boiled down into the right format that people could just watch, and unfold the sort of definitive story of his life and his career doing this, I hope other people will be just as blown away by it.
That's awesome. Go ahead.
No, I hope, I hope that it's at the end of the day, I think it's kind of like a tribute on some of, I know there's the divisiveness and there's people criticizing him, and I have that in there. I mean, this is not a puff piece. I talk about the negativity, but I narrate it and I give my perspective and talk about, I ultimately think it's cool. It's just another one of these weird baseball stories that's out there. And it's like, did you know that happened too? And I hope that it's ultimately, a good thing for baseball. I know MLB has always, when we've worked with them, said we want to, get the game younger, get young people to become fans, plant the seeds, and get people to want to go to games. And I don't know who does it better than Zack because kids love him and gravitate towards him. And even people who are casual baseball fans or don't love it, who've watched this, have said, man, I want to go do this. I want to feel what he feels. I want to go get my glove and go to batting practice.
That's so cool because who doesn't, as a fan, who hasn't brought their glove to the game hoping to get a home run ball, a foul ball, but to get 11,000 or whatever, 10,000, 11,000, whatever he's got, that is so unbelievable. So give us one more time, Jeff. Where can we all go find this documentary?
Yeah, so it's available now, renting or for purchase on all the top platforms where people can find kind of new movies, which is Apple, iTunes, like Apple TV, Google Play, Amazon Prime. It costs a couple bucks to rent it, but it'll hopefully be available, down the road. I think they're working on trying to figure it out, so it's just part of a subscription thing. But this is what happens with these low budget indie movies. They kind of you just gotta put them out there and hope people come check them out. So I hope everyone checks it out, and I hope people are as blown away by this whole story as me.
Yeah. Oh, we will. Hopefully all the good people listening to this podcast will go out and get that Zack Hample versus the world. Sounds awesome. I've watched a little bit already. It's phenomenal. And Jeff, thanks a lot for coming on, man, and sharing this vision in this project with us.
Yeah, thanks so much. Really appreciate it. Great to see you guys. And I check it out, and I hope you enjoy.
Okay, brother, we will, man, and we'll see you down the road, man.
All right, take care.
Thank you. That was awesome, Chinch.
Yeah,
I mean, I think what a documentary this is going to be.
Really cool. I love baseball documentaries in general, and this dude's worked so hard on it for 8 years he's been working on it.
8 years as a side hustle.
I know, side hustle. It's like the mayor's office, side hustle.
Yeah, exactly.
But anyway, it's Funbag Friday, but the season is underway. We didn't think it was going to happen. We had some fun talking baseball. We haven't really talked too much baseball on this, but on Fridays we're really going to dive in. So we got the mayor here. A little season preview going on. Where do you want to go first with it, dude?
Well, I think I want to go north of the border, man, because when I think about this season, I think this could be the year of the Blue Jays. You know, they signed Barrios to a long-term deal. They brought in Gosman as a free agent, long-term deal. Ryu obviously has been there. Alex Manoah, that guy's an absolute stud. Yeah. And Kikuchi is their fifth starter, which that rotation plays out. And then you talk about they got Springer last year. He's going to be healthy. Bichette, they just picked up Matt Chapman. They got Vlad Guerrero Jr., Gurriel. They got some absolute thunder in that lineup. And I really think they got a shot to make some noise this year.
Yeah, it's funny. Last year, it's like, the Blue Jays, they finished fourth in the American League. Okay, they finished fourth with a 91-71 record. Add Chapman, add Barrios. Talk about the offseason, like, they've done more than most teams, like, in under the radar. They're dangerous.
Dude, Ross Atkins has done a great job as the GM there, just, getting the pieces that they need, knowing the great thing about Toronto is they have the money, to go get some of these pieces. So I think that's one of the biggest things, because Ross Atkins, Mark Shapiro came over from Cleveland, where your hands are tied. And you go to Toronto, I'll tell you what, now you got, some money in the back, and now you can say, okay, what do we need? Hey, we need some frontline starting pitching, check. We need some another big-time trade to get a check. We got great prospects coming up, check. They're doing a great job out there in Toronto. If you're a Toronto Blue Jays fan, for years to come, you guys are going to be in good shape.
Yeah, that's great. Hey, I have a quick question about Toronto. Back in the day, you remember people used to not want to sign there because the taxes were different and they would have to sign different kind of contracts? Was that always in your guys' heads, or is that like something that just the media makes up?
I wasn't anything I really thought about. I never got offered to play up there, but I'm sure if you did, though, there's definitely something about that, the exchange rate and all that stuff. So I think guys figure out the money, though, where it exchanges to whatever it would be in American dollars.
Yeah, that's true. What else we got? The other team that made so much noise is the Mets. I mean, and in
when you got Scherzer, for 3 years and $108 zillion, you know what I mean? When you got Scherzer and DeGrom as your 1 and 2, I think the biggest thing with them is health. Can DeGrom, can he give you 25 starts?
Oof,
Seriously, I don't know about 30, but can he give you 25 starts? The frustrating thing about DeGrom is this guy's, such a stud, but like you're only a stud if you can put together some numbers. You can get out there and do it. So. Yeah, and then Scherzer, this guy's a workhorse. It'll just and that team in general, some of the guys that they went out and got, Marte and some of the guys they got in some of those trades, I think that's going to be a fun team to watch, the Mets.
I agree. Two other things too. Like, I know Lindor was just got to the Mets last year. I don't know personally, but you see it through the years. Usually the superstar that gets to a big market team, their second year, they really get back to being that superstar. The first year, it's always media's all over you. You're making the adjustments. But now you got Lindor starting the season. And talk about number 5 starters. What if Carlos Carrasco can put it back together? He's their 5 right now. We forget about how good he was, right?
Yeah, isn't that crazy? That rotation's so deep that Carrasco's a 5th starter. That's really good. So, I think health's going to be the big thing with them. But when you look at that, when you look at the Mets team, I think these guys have a chance to be really, really, really good this year.
Yeah. Also,
and Stevie Cohen, he might spend $500 million.
Like next week.
Forget about the luxury tax. He's like, what's the tax? $230? I'm going at $630 just for the hell of it.
Yeah. Also, by the way, don't sleep on a fact. That team might have benefited by the DH more than anybody, because you got Pete Alonso. They were talking about trading.
You got Dom Smith.
Dom Smith out. Mixed and match over 162. They got a shot. So then another team we were talking about before, and I have a story once we get into this team, is the Angels when we go back out West Coast. What's your take
well,
on
you're
him?
talking the two best players in the game are on the Angels. And, like, I think the frustrating thing about watching the Angels all these years, especially Trout winning MVP, runner-up MVP, being the best player in the game, modern-day Mickey Mantle, whatever you want to call him, the fact that we never see him in the postseason. I think he's been in one postseason series and got swept, and that's all. So I'm just hoping they have enough to try and find a way to win the West where we can see Trout and Ohtani both in the postseason.
Yeah. Now, speaking of Trout and Ohtani, I started telling you this before we came on. So I had a fantasy baseball draft a couple days ago with some guys, Keith Costas, Bob's Kid, a bunch of, people that really know the game. I got the 10th pick out of 10, and I'm like, this is stupid. So
you're going to get poop soup.
Yeah, snake draft, 10 and 11. You know who I got? Mike Trout and Shohei Ohtani. 10. Mike Trout went 10th to me in a fantasy baseball draft, and that's where he's going. I did the research. I'm like, this is impossible. People think he is the 10th best player in baseball now.
Who were you? Who's that league? Like 6 dogs, 4 cats, and you and Costas?
No, I mean, honest to God, I swear, 2 people in the draft with me are MLB Network researchers. I swear to God.
Who went one? I want to know who went 1, 2. I mean,
wait, hold on, I got it. Hold on. Soto went 1. I know that for a fact. Let me pull this up real quick. It was somewhere along the lines. It was Soto was involved. Trey Turner, but he steals bases. I mean, I'm not the most, fantasy is fantasy. Dude, there's a difference between fantasy and real life.
Wait, don't you get double points for Ohtani?
No. You get 2 different Ohtanis. I got offense Ohtani. I didn't get the pitching.
Oh, that's still legit, though.
It is. He had 40 homers and stole 25 bases and won an MVP. His numbers were ridiculous. So, whatever. But who else goes? What's his name? Third baseman, Indians. I think
if Trout's healthy, Jose Ramirez. If Trout's healthy, he's going to put up way better numbers than.
Oh, I'm winning this league.
The guys picked
no
before
question.
him.
Do you know the other thing I do?
Soto's gonna have a monster year, bro. He's MVP this year.
As well as he should. He's freaking amazing. The other thing is, like, I don't draft. This is my little secret. I don't draft any pitching until I put my entire lineup together. Then I start drafting pitchers. Oh, which, by the way, my biggest steal of my draft, you told me, Cincinnati Reds starting this year. Who's their
Hunter Green?
Hunter Green. I picked him up in late round.
Guy's a stud, dude. Throws 100. He's an animal.
It's gonna be awesome.
He's an animal.
Nice. All right. So
the other Green I really like too is Riley Green, dude. I know he broke his foot for the Tigers. This kid rakes.
Wow.
He's gonna be a superstar in the big leagues, bro.
Yeah,
Riley
that's awesome.
Green.
Wait, before we get to one other team, I want to ask you, like, the guys coming up, like, God, the hype around Bobby Whitt Jr. and some of these other guys.
Man.
How good can you be? I'm talking to you mentally. Everything. I know they told these guys you're going to be one of, you're the number one. You've always been the best. How difficult is it to live up to that hype as a rookie, especially like a guy like Bobby Whitt?
Well, I think for Bobby Whitt, this kid's phenomenal, man. I coached him. Rip and I coached him in the Under Armour All-American game a few years back, and Riley Green and some of these other guys. Bobby Whitt Jr. is special. I mean, I'm still flabbergasted that the Orioles took Adley Rutschman 1 and Whitt ended up going 2 to the Royals. Because I'm like, dude, if you know Bobby Whitt and his tool set, this guy's clearly going to be a franchise shortstop, which those guys don't come along too often. So I think it's crazy that he went number 2. But, for me, man, this guy has all the tools, and he's an unbelievable kid, like the most humble, kindest kid. His dad, Bobby Whitt Sr., obviously I played against. He's just a great guy, too. They come from a great family, so that's huge. But, guys like Riley Green, Spencer Torkelson, some of these young kids, that are going to be up in the big leagues. I mean, I think they're good hitters because they're tough mentally. Right. You don't get to that stage and all of a sudden get to the big leagues. There's an adjustment when you get to the big leagues when you see that third deck and, it's just more media and all that stuff. Right. But at the end of the day, it really is baseball. And these guys are really good because mentally they're able to go pitch by pitch.
Yeah. And the other thing, this goes in for, this happens in every company or corporation. It's like people don't want, nepotism. Nepotism meaning, fathers and kids hiring cousins, brothers. But you know what? There is something to be said to grow up in the environment that you wind up making your career out of. And Bobby Whitt Sr., first of all, was awesome. And one of them, everybody loved him when he pitched. And to grow up within a game. Can you imagine if the first time you stepped on a major league field, you were 7 years old and you learned how to hit from, Sean Casey, there's kids out there who probably are in the big leagues right now who probably were out on a field who you told him this and that and something about their swings. God bless him. He's got everything in the making to be one of the greatest players in the next 10, 15 years.
No, he definitely does. He's going to be a superstar player. And also, that mentality that, you look at Jack Leiter, you look at Vlad Guerrero Jr., you look at Bo Bichette, you can go down the line, Daz Cameron, hey man, at the end of the day, they do have an added benefit and an added, they have an added tool set because they grew up in that environment. And there's there's something to see guys in their routines and how they go about their business. I think that's what helps these kids out more than anything.
Right, which transitions us perfectly to another son, Clay Bellinger, former Yankee great's son, Cody. Coming back, the shoulder. You're a shoulder guy. You had shoulder problems.
I hurt my shoulder in 2002, bro. It was a labrum tear, a little bit of. And I had it done 11 weeks ago too. But it was a labrum tear, a little bit of teres minor, and a slap tear in my bicep. And back then they're like, "Yeah, go ahead and do it." So I did it, dude. And I look back, I'm like, I wish I never would have done that. Like I wish. Because it was my non-throwing shoulder, same as him. It's his non-throwing shoulder. It's his front arm, I believe. Right. So he throws lefty. Right. I just never was the same, man. I never was the same again. I kind of grinded through some years. I did have a big year in 2004, but it was still a grind. It wasn't like the same swing. I lost my left center stroke because I just didn't have the same. Listen. You're a big league ball player because your fibers and your fast twitch muscles, they fire a little different, right? So whatever your shoulders do and your hands, that fast twitch muscles, for whatever God gave you, that's why you're so good.
Right.
Well, if you tweak that just a little bit, it's like an NFL cornerback or a receiver. They say, if a guy gets hurt and he loses a half a step, you're gone.
Right. Absolutely.
You're gone.
No,
you're now not an NFL player. Right. So when I look at Bellinger, I looked at his swing last year, and I'm like, that front shoulder to me is the key to a hitter. If you have to be able to lock that down as long as you can and make decisions later because these guys have such good stuff late in the zone. So if that leaks a little bit, I'm susceptible to so many pitches. And when I see Bellinger hit, I'm like, man, the one pitch maybe he could hit is that pitch middle in because he kind of leaks that front shoulder. Right. So I hope he's healthy. He had a terrible spring training. Terrible year last year, and it's just those numbers that were so bad makes me think he's not back all the way from that shoulder injury, and who knows if he ever will be. It's like the Matt Kemp. Matt Kemp had that shoulder surgery. He was never the same again.
Great point. Same teams, everything, dude. 2019, 305 with 47 and 115, 108 strikeouts, 95 walks. I mean. He knows how to hit. It's just got to be so frustrating to. I can't imagine how frustrating it is to not. I know what to do. I know everything I got to do, but I didn't get there. I'm a hair off, and a hair off at 97 is what? A hair off at 97 makes it feel like 115, I guess.
You're swinging and missing. Yeah, no, it does, man. And like I said, I've been there before where I'm like, I would drive balls to left center where those first couple years, they're gone left center. Right. They're warning track. They're not even at the warning track. Right. I had to become for me personally, I had to become a pull hitter because I kind of lost that other way gap because just my shoulder would not allow me to do what I used to do. So I had to almost reinvent himself. So hopefully, if it is the case where Bellinger's shoulder doesn't come back to what it used to be, maybe he's able to reinvent himself and, become maybe not the MVP type hitter he was, but still a really good big league hitter.
Yeah. And my last point on this is it just goes to show you how difficult the game is. And people come up, and you can say this in many sports, but specifically baseball, there is so much. It's 8 months plus the months you're training to get to your season. And we say, Cody Bellinger in 2019, we're like, oh, okay, this guy's going to hit 600 home runs. He's going to be the greatest player, blah, blah, blah. But God, It's such a difficult, physically demanding thing. And you talk about what athletes are in different sports. I don't care. You got to be an athlete to play baseball. Even if you have a little boiler, you still have to be an athlete, right?
Yeah, exactly. But the biggest thing about baseball is, here's the difference. You saw Cody Bellinger in the postseason. You go, oh, he's back. He's back. Well, guess what? This is 162, brother. 162. The only thing that makes big leaguers, the great big leaguer players the best is their consistency, that they recover faster. Like if you're going to be a career 300 hitter, or you're going to drive in 100 runs, you can't struggle that long. your recovery time's got to be different. So you can't struggle for 3 or 4 weeks. You got to struggle for 3 or 4 days. And that's the biggest thing about being a professional baseball player that's different than the NBA, the NHL, NFL. You're playing every single night for 6 months, and it's just a different bear, different animal.
Right. And I always, this is a random question, but I always thought, like, when they say, like, the guys that did do HGH or steroids and cheated back then, do you think, like, let's just say you went from 30 to 40 homers. I don't necessarily think that you're just hitting the ball farther. I bet some of that recovery time, like, were there not, I have to think, like, in the last 5 years of career, you walked into the stadium, you picked up your bat and went,
I felt like an oak tree. I felt like an oak tree.
Yeah, I have nothing. If I even make it on base today, I'm a win, right? Does that not happen during the season?
Dude, Chinch, I got a great story. You just jarred my memory, which is great. So, bro, yeah, at times you picked up the bat and you're like, God, this feels like I swung a 34-32, right? And at times you pick it up, you're like, is this Babe Ruth's bat? Is this a 34? Is this a 37-50? Like, you gotta be kidding me. So this is a great story, bro. So back in the day with Marucci, I used to call, like, players or family members, and they would ask for bats, and you don't want to give away your good wood, so you get autograph bats, right? So Marucci, I would call, my buddy Kyle Orso. I'm like, Kyle, listen, man, can I get some autograph bats? Because I want to give them away to some of the fans or family or, auctions or whatever. He's like, yeah, no problem. We'll send you some. So they send him some. And on the autograph bat, it would say Casey custom cut. And then my real bat would say, it was the SC21 model, right? But you'd have to really pay attention to see it. Okay. So sure enough, we're packing up our bags, bro. We're loading up thing. We're going on a West Coast trip. We're going to play Seattle. We're going to play Anaheim, right? So boom, I load up my bats. Boom, I got my gamers. Boom, boom, boom. I'm on my way. So we get out there. We're facing King Felix. It was game 3 of that series. Just had hung out with like Vetter and Theo a couple days ago. One of the greatest nights of my life. I'm like, this Seattle trip's one of the greatest trips ever. So Vetter and Pearl Jam, all those guys are in the stands. I'm like, dude, I'm gonna dominate today. I can't wait. So I get out on deck. I'm like, oh man, I don't know what's going on, but freaking this bat feels a little bit heavy today, right? And now think about this. The autograph bats they give you, they're not big league wood. They're just like the throwaway wood. They lacquer them up and send them to you. Use them at boom. You're not going to use them in the game. Right. So I get in there, and I get into my first at bat. King Felix blows me away. 3 pitches. I'm like, what the hell? I'm like, am I swinging in the deep end? This is unbelievable. Punches me out. No, and I don't punch. I rarely punched out twice, and I never punched out. I punched out 3 times, I think 4 times in my career. Wow. So next at bat, bro, I get in there. Boom. He throws me a 2-2 heater right there. Bam, swing and miss. I'm like, I look at the bat, literally, I'm like, what the heck's going on here? So now I come up in the 8th, right? I come up in the 8th. I think Vetter and those guys left. They're like, this guy's horse shit. You know what I mean? So I come up in the 8th, bro, like bases loaded, or there was like guy on second, 4-3 game, need a big knock. I'm like, come on, man, saddle up. Like, what are you doing? Jesus. Next thing you know, boom, I get a fastball. Bam, I cover it. Line drive to right. Boom, ties the game 4-4. I'm like, let's go. I'm fired up, you know what I mean? So the game ends. I can't remember. I think we won. I don't know if we won or lost, whatever. So after the game, it's the getaway day. So I usually grab your own bats and, so you take care of them, put them in I'm putting them in the bag, and I look at the bat. I'm like, holy shit, I was using an autograph bat in the game. I got a hit with an autograph bat against King Felix, a Marucci autograph bat. It must have been 40 ounces. It must have been 34-40. But in my mind, I was so pissed off. I was like, I got to get a hit here. The game's on the line.
Unreal.
So I got a knock, bro, against King Felix in the big leagues with an 40-ounce autograph bat.
That's unbelievable. That must have grinded you too, though, because you never gave away at bats, and you're chasing 300 every year. Those 2 outs must have been sitting in your head for like a couple months. Like, shit, I could have got 3 for 3 that day. I only went 1 for 3. That's crazy.
Well, dude, it was so funny. It's funny you say that because this is the end of July. I came into the year being a career 301 hitter. It was my first year. It was my first year off the bench. So I was counting every at bat. I'm like, my God, if I end up a 299 career hitter because I'm coming off the bench for the first time, which is one of the hardest things to do in sports, I'm like, you got to be kidding me. So if those 2 at bats would have cost me at the end of the year, bro, I'd have been so pissed.
Yeah, we wouldn't be laughing about this story right now.
It would not be funny, dude.
Holy
it would not
cow,
be funny.
That's crazy. Oh my God. Well, cool thing is, you talk about longevity and playing in this game. The guys we've had on this week and next week, forget about it. Dan Plesac, if you have not seen that episode yet, first of all, was it 19 years in the big leagues? Never,
18 years.
Never,
18
ever
years.
on the DL. And then he blew his hip out while he's playing golf like 2 years ago. But we got him. If you have not watched or listened to that episode, you have to, because first of all, he's the most fun guy in the world, but he knows baseball as much or better than anybody, and we had a great time with him. And then who do we have coming up next week?
Dude, we got one of my favorite teammates, man, Gary Sheffield. Doesn't agree to do too many interviews, but he came in the mayor's office, baby. Tune in for Gary Sheffield, because he's vintage Gary Sheffield, man. He does not hold back.
Nope.
And he comes out with some great stuff, and we have a ton of fun, man. It's the first time you might see Chef really yuck it up and have a good time and, have some good laughs. So it was... Tune into the Sheffield episode, because it's going to be awesome.
Yeah, and especially you got to hear. There's a story that they are going to tell that I won't break up, but it has a lot to do with Sean Casey, Gary Sheffield, something Gary Sheffield offered Sean as a gift once, and leaving it right there. And it is first of all, it's an amazing story. And the appreciation Gary Sheffield has for Sean Casey at the end of this story is something, I swear to God, I almost started crying. I'm not kidding, watching these two guys talk to each other. So you have to, must see that episode next week.
Tune in. It's going to be good, man. It's going to be good.
All right, dude.
All right, Chinch,
Big plans this weekend?
brother.
You going to have fun?
Awesome. Yes, dude, I'm going down. As a matter of fact, I'm going down to Brian Johnson, our guy that we had on. He's launching he's launching that Heroic app this Saturday. Yeah, it's launching. So for anyone out there, go check out this app, Heroic app. It is so good. Stoic philosophy just meets modern day science. It's an unbelievable app. Track your habits. Just so many great things.
Yeah, go back in our archives. We did over an hour with Brian. You should go back and watch that interview, and you'll understand what Sean's talking about. Really smart guy.
Watch Brian Johnson. So great, man. Cool. What a great guy. Going to be really good. So that's what I'm doing this weekend. What are you doing, Chinch?
Me? Saturday night we're going to my uncle in Brooklyn. They have some sort of like charity raffle thing in one of these places in Brooklyn, and it's a 20s theme. So we're all getting dressed up in like 20s, and they got bands playing whatever. We're going to do that.
That'll be fun, dude.
Yeah, it's different.
That'll be fun, man. That'll be fun. Dude, as a matter of fact, Friday I'm going down to Austin, Texas. I'm staying with Millar Friday night.
Are you? That's amazing. Nice.
Yeah, I'm going. He's been getting on me to come down to his house every year. I'm like, dude, I'm at the airport. Come pick me up. I'm at baggage claims around the carousel, just rolling around.
That's sick. All right, well, have fun. And everybody out there this weekend, have a great weekend. Enjoy yourself.
Yes. Yeah, everybody have a great time, man. Stay grateful and keep downloading us, subscribe, passing us on. I was on Jim Rome today, and he plugged us big time. So very thankful for that. Romy, if you're listening, very thankful for you, brother.
There you go.
And Chinchy, I'm thankful for you, my man, and I will see you next week.
All right, brother.
Brother.